we will go ahead and get started. So this is for 4th and 5th grade students. And some of you, I believe, have already started the school year. Some folks I know are starting after Labor Day. So if you've already started, I hope you've had a good start to the school year. And if you're going to start, then I'm wishing you well for the future. So I would love to get to know our few students that are here now. And I would love to know your name, one of your favorite foods, and also your favorite activity to do. This could be in the evening, on the weekends. This might be painting or soccer or biking, basketball, bird watching, scootering, whatever it might be that is one of your favorite activities to do. Maybe you don't have just one favorite, maybe you have a couple, and that's okay too. You can always let me know a few. I'll go ahead and share about myself first so that you have an example, and then I'll turn it to you, and then we can go from there. I want to hear from everyone, okay? So start thinking of your own favorite foods and your favorite activities, because I want you to either type it into the chat or you can unmute yourself. And even if this isn't just students, I know sometimes parents like to join us too. By all means, please feel free to go ahead and share as well. So my name is Julie Banfer. You can see that on my little Zoom name tag here. You can call me Miss Banfer. And in terms of my favorite food, I love any kind of fruit. Any kind of fruit on the planet. Oh my goodness. I've been to so many different countries, tried so many different fruits, and let me tell you, there is not a fruit that I don't like. So especially my kids and my husband know, they get me a fruit basket for any kind of special holidays. I'm in heaven. I love it. And in terms of my favorite activity, since I love fruit so much, we love to bring like a fruit salad and other different food items. We love having picnics outside. There's so many parks close to our house, so we always like to just grab some food, put it in a basket, and go for a walk, have a nice picnic outside, and hang out as a family. So that's one of my favorite activities, especially in the summer when it's these nice cool evenings. So that's my favorite food, that's my name, and that's my favorite activity. So now I want to hear from you before I discuss a little bit more about the course. So I see we have an MP, and let me go ahead and open my chat here. An MP, I don't know if that's your preferred name, but if that's your preferred name, great. I'll keep calling you MP. MP, would you like to share first, if that's your preferred name, your favorite food, and any kind of favorite activity that you have? Or if MP is still thinking, we have oranges. Oh, so you're a fruit person as well. Excellent. And how about, and is MP what you would like me to call you? Is that the name you'd like to go by? Okay, sounds good. And how about your favorite activity? And if you feel most comfortable typing into the chat, that's fine. You can also turn your microphone on too. Oh, badminton. Nice. I like it. That's awesome. I've been seeing that a lot at the beach lately too, which is so great. Thank you for sharing, MP. And MP, what grade are you in? Just so I have an idea about that as well. And then Chi, you're up next. Chizu. 5th. Okay, great. Sounds good.
Hi, actually, I'm a father, so I wanted
Oh,
to
yes.
listening. I have a 5th grade daughter, so just saw the message. So so that's why I dialed in to see, yeah, if
Of
this
course.
is good for.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Okay, I'll keep that in mind as we continue on with the rest of the lecture. And then we're recording this as well, so we'll also post it on our Google Classroom page. So then that way you can reference it for later and see if it's a good fit for you, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so with this course, we have several goals here with our literacy course together. So we will read, discuss, and write about 4 different books throughout the course of this fall semester. We will practice reading out loud, we'll practice listening to reading, we will study vocabulary, we will have short written responses. After we finish a book, we'll have longer end of book responses. We'll see some short film clips from our book so that we can connect with the novel. And then we'll also have projects at the end of each book that we read too. So that way we can utilize all of these literacy skills that we're working on throughout the course of the several weeks that we're covering each book. Now, depending upon how long each book is, sometimes we work on a book for 3 weeks, sometimes it's 4 weeks. It just depends on how short or long the books are. The first book we're going to be working on is pretty short, just so that we can get back into the routine and understand like the different rhymes and reasons why I'm doing things a certain way, okay? So the first book is a little bit shorter, and then the other books are a little bit longer as we continue to work on a variety of literacy skills. So we will have about 12 sessions. So each session is about an hour. So they'll be Mondays at this time. And then we'll post this schedule on Google Classroom as well, but we'll have different breaks here and there. We'll have the day off for Halloween so that everyone can celebrate that. We'll have a break for Thanksgiving so that if you're celebrating that. So we'll post this schedule on Google Classroom so that everyone can know which days we're meeting. And then you are also eligible for 2 30-minute one-on-one meetings with me during the fall semester. This can be parents having a parent-teacher conference. This could be parents and students. This could be just students working on certain specific skills privately. I already have a Calendly link posted on Google Classroom. So that way, if your parents, students have any access to Google Classroom, then you can go ahead and click on the calendar link and then just go ahead and book an appointment with me whenever is convenient for your family. Okay. So the books that we will be covering for this fall semester, we will start with Who is Malala? Then we're going to go into Hang Zipzer, which this also has a film version. It has they made a TV series after they had this book. So we'll be bringing in some clips from that TV series too. The third book is My Name is Brain Brian. And then the last book is Indigo. So all of these books are very different and have very different themes. So we'll be working on a variety of literacy skills as we focus on each and every book. And as I said, the first book, Who is Malala, that one is quite short. So that one we're only going to be doing for a few weeks until we focus in on our next book. And all of these characters are still, many of the characters actually are within the upper elementary, middle school grades, aside from Malala, who's a little bit older. So they're easily relatable as well, okay? Now, book number 1. I'll just briefly go into what book number 1 is going to be about. So Malala Yousafzai is a girl who loved to learn, but was told the girls will no longer be allowed to go to school. She wrote a blog that called attention to what was happening in her beautiful corner of her country, Pakistan, and realized that words can bring about change. She has continued to speak out for the right for all children to have an education. And in 2014, she actually won the Nobel Peace Prize. Give me one moment. I just have to sneeze. And now that I just said that, I won't have to sneeze. Has that ever happened to you? Okay, never mind. I don't have to sneeze anymore. Okay. The second book that we'll be focusing on, this is actually a lengthy series. Hang Zipzer is one of my favorite series ever. This is actually the first book within the series. So my hope is that after you read this book, you are just hooked on it and you just want to keep reading all of the different books. Now, the main character, Hank Zipser, is based off of the author's childhood. So the author is Henry Winkler. He's actually an actor and a comedian. And he based a lot of this book off of his experiences when he was in school. So the description here is inspired by true life experiences of the author Henry Winkler. The Hank Zipser series is about this high-spirited and funny adventures of a creative boy who thinks a little differently than others. So you'll get plenty of laughs from this book, and it's very relatable as well, as you can just tell from the cover. The third book, My Name is Brain Brian. So struggling with problems that the kids in his class see as clowning around, such as mixing things up and spelling letters backwards, Brian learns he has dyslexia, and he suffers peer teasing when his friends do not understand his learning difference. So this is also very relatable because someone who everyone else thinks is a class clown is actually not trying to be funny at all. So it'll be interesting for us to also compare Hank Zipser with Brian after we read those two novels as well. And the last novel to close out our semester here is called Indigo by Alice Hoffman. 13-year-old Martha Glimmer is convinced this is the worst time of her life. Her mother unfortunately died. She grew 7 inches and she has to put up with a woman who plays Martha's lonely father with food and opinions about how 13-year-olds should behave. Martha longs to leave Oak Grove and travel. Martha's best friend Trevor and his brother Eli also want to leave Oak Grove, their town. Nicknamed Trout and Eel because of the thin webbing between their fingers and toes, they long to see the ocean. Together, Martha, Trout, and Eel are going to find the true meaning of home in very unexpected places. So all of these novels are about a variety of different types of characters. And there's so many different themes that we'll also discuss too as we go throughout all 4 of these novels. Okay, so our first one, we're just going to dive into talking about Malala today because I want to make sure I'm utilizing every single session that we have together since we only have 12 sessions. So in a moment, I'll go ahead and pull up the Google Classroom link so that you can join with your email. We will preview what this book will be about. It is a biography, so it is about a real person. And we will learn a little bit more about Malala. It's a very interesting story. We will discuss some pre-reading questions so that you have a little bit of background information about this novel before we get started. And if there's time, we'll see if we can write some pre-reading answers to pre-reading questions in Google Classroom. Otherwise, we'll save it for homework. We'll look into some background information about the author, about the setting, Pakistan in general, where she's from, where the novel is set, and just some general things about Pakistan and how life there is very different from life here in America. We'll review the background with a quick Kahoot if we have time. And then we'll go ahead and start reading today too, if we have some time at the very end. And then you will also have homework each session. So all the homework and classwork will be posted on Google Classroom. You will have to read chapters 1 through 4, finish up the questions that we'll start together. And then we'll also have a reading log that'll show you what it looks like, where I would love for you to read at least 4 to 5 times a week for about 20 to 30 minutes each session. And then my hope is that you discuss what you're reading with someone at home, whether it's a babysitter, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, brother, sister, because the more you discuss literature, not only does that help deepen your comprehension, but it also helps with your fluency and your vocabulary as well. So this is our main agenda for our first session today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So in order to join our Google Classroom, and let me paste all of this into the chat so that it's easy. And parents can join a Google Classroom, students can join Google Classroom, whatever is suitable to you, both. Here is the link. And if you just want to pull up Google Classroom on your own, then you just have to type in a code to join. So the code I just typed into the chat as well, VCCR23N. Okay, and I'll give everyone a moment to do so. And then once you're in Google Classroom, this is what it looks like. So we have grades 4 and 5, fall 22, and then all the information that you're going to need is posted in here. So I already have your weekly reading log here. I have your pre-reading questions posted here. We have the Zoom link that we'll use every single week that Philip posted here. And then I also have a link to my Calendly, which is what I was saying earlier, since you will have 2 30-minute private sessions with me. And again, this could be just parents having a conference. This could be students. This could be both. It's completely up to you how you want to use the 2 30-minute sessions, okay? So that's there to book as well. You can just click on my calendar and see when I'm free and then book a time with me as you see fit. And then I will write feedback to students on this. I will grade student work on this. Everything will be through Google Classroom. You can ask me questions. You can ask the whole class questions. All of that will be through here. Okay, so that's the link. This is the code. And I'll keep that in the chat. And then I'm going to go ahead onto the trailer, because we need to know a little bit more about who this real person is before we get started of her book. So this is, let me just fix my headphones here so that everyone can hear this. And then we'll see. Quick 3 minutes.
Education activist who stood up to the Taliban, survived an assassination attempt, and became the youngest person ever to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Malala Yousafzai was born on July 12, 1997 in the Swat region of Pakistan to Ziauddin and Torpkai Yousafzai. Her parents were determined to give her every opportunity a son would have, starting with an education. But then in 2007, when Malala was around 10 years old, her home, the Swat Valley, one of Pakistan's most beautiful regions, was taken over by the Taliban. Life under the Taliban was difficult, and women were discouraged from getting an education and even shopping at the local market. Malala's father, an educator who ran a number of private schools for girls, attempted to educate girls under the radar. Malala herself developed a stealthy route to school to avoid being caught. Eventually, the Taliban officially banned girls from going to school altogether. In January 2009, the precocious 12-year-old Malala started blogging for the BBC under the pen name Gul Makai, chronicling her life under the Taliban regime. Her writing was deep and thoughtful and beyond the years of an average 7th grader. The New York Times made a short documentary about her, and she publicly campaigned for girls to go to school, winning Pakistan's first National Youth Peace Prize. But this put Malala in the limelight, sparking the Taliban to target her. And on October 9th, 2012, Malala boarded the bus home from school. She had just finished a physics exam and was busy thinking about her Pakistani studies exam the next day when a masked gunman boarded the bus, asked for Malala by name, and shot her in the head, neck, and shoulder. She was just 15 years old. The bus driver rushed her straight to the hospital. She was in trouble. They airlifted her to a hospital in Peshawar, where they found the bullet was very close to her brain. It was causing her brain to swell, and they needed to get her to a more advanced hospital or she would die. The ruling family of the United Arab Emirates offered their private jet, which rushed her to a hospital in the UK. Meanwhile, the Taliban released a statement proudly proclaiming responsibility for shooting the girl who was promoting Western ideas in Swat. She arrived in the UK in critical condition and woke up a full week later. Her survival empowered her to continue her mission to expand education and promote peace. She started the Malala Charity Fund to help build schools. In 2013, she spoke at the UN. She went on to win the World Children's Prize, and in 2014, at 17, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. But even more impressive, after all she endured, Malala has never expressed anger or vengeance or any promotion of violence. Of her attacker, she says only that she believes he made a great mistake. His goal was to silence her. But after enduring the shooting, she had no more fear, and she certainly had a lot more to say.
Okay, so quite the life that Malala has had so far. and she's not terribly older than everyone's age. Oops, let me go to the next. Okay, so these are some pre-reading questions. Since there's only a few of us here, I'm actually just going to keep this for homework. We're not going to get started on them in Google Classroom together. We'll wait for some more students for next week. But these are the pre-reading questions that are posted in your Google Classroom that you'll have to do for some of the homework, okay? So after just hearing about Malala and knowing about the first book that we're going to read, the first question I have is, what is a biography, since that's what we'll be reading? What is an activist? Have you ever heard of a group called the Taliban? And if so, what have you heard about them? Right, we heard a little bit of information from the introduction there. And what would you do if a terrorist group such as the Taliban didn't allow you to do something that you wanted to do, right? See if you can put yourself in Malala's shoes. And does everyone have a right to an education? Why or why not? This is something that Malala felt strongly about, so I was just curious if anyone else felt strongly about it too. And I see we have a couple of additions here in our Zoom room. So if you wanted to join Google Classroom, I'm just going to go ahead and paste the link. I'll also paste the code if that's easier. Those are both in the chat. If anyone wanted to see some of the resources that we'll have on Google Classroom, these questions will be some of them. And let me show you what this looks like on Google Classroom. And then you'll see where to access them. So once you click on the link or the code and you join the class, then you'll see this stream. And in the stream, you'll have classwork, you'll have homework, you'll have our Zoom link and everything there. So if you click on what's called classwork, homework, the pre-reading questions, then everything will pop up here. So that work will pop up here. These questions you can answer directly into the Google document. It'll create a document just for you. I can leave feedback for you on there. I can grade on there. So these are the pre-reading questions that we have for the book, Who is Malala? Let me go back to my slideshow. Okay, now I want to go talk about a little bit. I'll do this briefly because I know the video talked a little bit about some of the background information about where Malala lived and what was happening too. So I'll go through these a little bit quickly. So for this novel, Pakistan is the main setting of the novel. And that is exactly where Malala was from. And it's divided into 4 different provinces, as you can see. And Malala lived in the Swat district, which is in a valley, which is also known like an administrative district. And it's located up here where the orange square is. It's like an upper valley of Swat River. And this is like a picture of what it looks like. Beautiful place to live within Pakistan. So that's the main setting of the book, like her hometown. And in terms of religion, about 97% of people that live in this country are Muslim. There are some Christians, Hindus, and members of other religion that only maybe accounts for about 1% of the population. So majority of the people within this area that Malala was from are Muslim. And it's a pretty popular country. Here's their flag, and here's another image of the country. It's the 6th most populous country and the 36th largest country in terms of the area, the amount of space that it takes up. And it also has the 7th largest armed force. So they have a huge army, they have a lot of land and a lot of people. Similar to the US in that regard. Now, in terms of their government, so it was an independent nation at first, and then it became an Islamic republic. And then because of a civil war, part of Pakistan ended up becoming another country, which was called Bangladesh. And today there's a federal parliamentary system with this is the president right now, a prime minister is the head of the government that serves as the legislative body. So different types of governments happening, different, like they had their own civil war, just like the United States had their civil war. There's been a lot of changes for sure in the area. Now, they've also experienced different types of military rule, political instability, conflicts with other countries. And because of that, the country has struggled a little bit with overpopulation. They've struggled some with poverty. They struggled some with illiteracy, so that people aren't actually getting a chance to go to school, which is what Malala was fighting for. They struggled a little bit with terrorism and also some corruption, which is what Malala got herself into. Now, this particular group, the Taliban, that Malala will talk a lot about within her book, it's an Islamic fundamentalist group, and how they interpret the law is extremely strict compared to how other people interpret the law. So they have their own set of guidelines and rules that they want to follow, that they think everyone should follow too. And they essentially formed an entire army to go around the entire country to make sure everyone's following this rule. But it changed the lives of how some people were living before. For example, the treatment of women. They were allowed to go to school, and then all of a sudden, because this new group came in and they had a very strict interpretation, all of a sudden women weren't allowed to go to school and they weren't allowed to go to the market. So many things were happening because of this group and the very, very strict way that they wanted to interpret these laws. And that's where Malala comes in and tells a little bit about her story. So to give you some information a little bit more about Islam, it is a religion based on the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad. And there's similar to how Christians might have the Bible, people that celebrate Islam, they have the Quran, which is like a sacred text for them. It is, I believe, the largest religion in the world. And you also have multiple prayers per day. You have the 5 pillars of Islam, and the people who practice Islam are called Muslims. So this is just giving you a little bit of background information about Malala, because this is also going to be coming up in some of her book too. This is how she celebrates her religion. Okay, so now we have this background information about Malala. So I want to see if you can remember some of this and do a Kahoot with me. So if you go ahead to, I'll type it into the chat if you'd like to. I know we have some parents here, some students here, some people checking out this class and see what it's all about. I've typed it into the chat, www.kahoot.it. And what this does is this program pulls up an online interactive quiz. So there'll be some vocabulary terms, there'll be some background information. You can type in the code that'll pop up on my screen in a moment. If you'd like to participate, that is. If not, that's okay too. And then it'll ask you different questions. You can type in any username you want. So it does not have to be the username of your Zoom name right now. It could be an emoji, smiley face, number, letter, gibberish, whatever you would like. And it's just to see how much background information you can remember or you already know about this novel before we start diving into it, okay? So let me go ahead into my Kahoot and I'll get it started. You go to kahoot.it. And then it'll show up as a code right here. So if you'd like to join this interactive quiz, please go to kahoot.it and type in the code 209392. And then you can go ahead and type in your username. We'll go through a few questions that'll pop up on the screen and we'll discuss them together. A little bit more background information about Malala, since that is our first book we'll be studying for this semester. And if we don't want to play, that's okay too. I know we have some people that are just investigating this course. So if we don't have any players, it's not a problem at all. I'll give everyone another moment or two to see if you'd like to join. Otherwise, I'll just run through some of the questions and then we can move on. But I typically like to have some type of interactive piece with this where we're asking questions, having discussions, talking about different themes or topics, depending upon what literary skill we'll be working on for that particular day. Since we're just starting a book, we're still just in the background knowledge section of this novel. Okay, so I don't think we have any players for this one in particular, which is totally fine. I know everyone's just checking out this course. So just to preview some of the questions, there were 8 questions, and it gives you multiple choice response for which one that you'd like to choose. So it asks about like, what does Malala preach a lot about? Female education. She's from Pakistan, Swat Valley. Who was the group that came in to shut down the schools? The Taliban. What important award did Malala win? Nobel Peace Prize. What do you think Malala thinks is the best weapon? So far, she's just been using her voice to get information out there. What first made Malala famous? She was promoting female education. What is Malala's religion? We were just talking about that she is Muslim. And does Malala think that you can change the world? And I hope your answer to that one would have been yes, because she has most definitely changed the world by just simply speaking her opinion and making sure that everyone is given equal access to education, especially girls within her region. So that is what Kahoot is like. We'll be doing like different interactive games and activities similar to that. So that way I can see some participation and some feedback from students as well. Okay, so now we are at the point where I'm going to go ahead and start reading the first chapter of Malala so that you can hear a fluent reader read this. And then if anyone would like to also chime in and read any part of this, by all means, you're more than welcome to. I'd love to have people read. I like to have a little bit of reading time at the end of our sessions too, so then that way everyone can hear how other readers read, and it just really helps with fluency and to build that comprehension piece as well, okay? And before I do that, I just want to review quickly. There'll be homework every single week. So do next week on Monday. I know it's an American holiday, but we'll still be meeting on Monday, September 5th. So the assignment here is to read chapters 1 through 4, to finish the pre-reading questions that we were looking at earlier, and then to also complete the reading log. And let me show you what the reading log looks like, and then we can go ahead and start reading together. And since this is just an introductory session, we'll be ending a little bit earlier, so that way you can see if this session meets your needs. You can talk to your family members and things like that. So this is what the weekly reading log looks like, and it is posted here on Google Classroom. Let me move my Zoom link. It is posted here. You'll be filling this out every single, hopefully every day, but definitely every single week. So you can maybe type in the Malala book, maybe you have other books that you read, the number of minutes that you've read, and did you talk with a family member about what you've read? My goal is for you to discuss literature. My goal is for you to have multiple books that you're reading throughout the course of a week, and to hopefully be reading for at least 20 to 30 minutes each time you have a session of reading, maybe more. We'll see, right? It depends on your schedules. I know with school starting and everything like that, it gets a little bit hectic. And then the pre-reading questions that we were just talking about, these are also posted in Google Classroom. It is also posted right here. And this is what it looks like. 5 questions just to see what you already know about these topics so that I have a better idea of your background information before we get started on this novel as well. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up my digital version of Malala, and I'll go ahead and start reading the first section of it so that you can hear a fluent reader. And then I'll go ahead and share my screen of that so that you can see the words written on the page as well. And any questions or comments about this course at all, I know a lot of you are parents checking this out, please feel free to write into the chat. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might be thinking about or have. Let me go ahead and pull up this novel. And I'll share my screen. I have the digital version, which for your purposes, if you'd like a digital version of the book, if you'd like the paper copy of the book, completely up to what you prefer. That's okay. I also like digital versions because they can also be read to you. For example, this is through Learning Ally, which is a program I really enjoy. So if I press play here, I can actually have it read to me while it highlights each word. Or I can pause it and then just go ahead and read myself. So I can take a look here at all the chapters. So our homework will be 1 through 4. And then it also gives a timeline of the world, a timeline of Malala's life. I can take different notes in this version, completely up to you, which with versions of the books that are best for you. There are definitely affordable options. If you'd like to just rent it from the library, you can get it for free. You can rent it through Amazon. You can purchase online, whatever works best for you and your family. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'll just read a short bit and then I'll leave it open for any questions at the end. And that'll be our session tonight. Okay. So chapter 1, A Girl is Born. On July 12, 1997, Malala Yousafzai was born in the city of Mingora, Pakistan. Outside her parents' bedroom, a new day was about to begin. Soon, the city would become alive with horns honking and people calling and music playing. But now it was early. The morning sun was rising behind the mountains outside the city. A rooster crowed. A scooter's engine revved. Like many families in their poor neighborhood, the Yousafzais couldn't afford a doctor or a midwife. Instead, a neighbor woman arrived to deliver the baby. When Torpikai Yousafzai was handed her first child, she felt instant love. But there was also sadness in her heart. Torpikai knew what was in store for this little girl. Her friends and neighbors in Mingora would not celebrate her birth. If she had been a boy, they would have brought gifts and food and poems. We'll be talking about that next week and why that is in this particular region of the world. So keep that in mind. Torpikai had grown up in a remote mountain village. Most girls did not go to school. However, Torpikai wanted to learn. When she was 6, she went to the village school, but being a girl in school was so unusual that she soon left. In Mingora and many other areas of the Swat Valley, remember that's the region of Pakistan that Malala lives, it was common for all children to attend school. The first girls' school was built in the 1920s. High schools and colleges then followed. The rulers believed that all children, girls as well as boys, should be educated. Pakistan was proud of graduates in the Swat area who went on to become teachers, doctors, and other professionals. Malala's father had also grown up in a mountain village. He also believed in schooling for girls. When Ziauddin saw his new baby daughter, he did not feel disappointed. He felt proud. He would make sure that she would have the same chances in life as any boy. So we're going to be talking about gender themes for sure throughout this first section of the novel, and you'll have some comprehension questions and some discussion questions on that as we continue this novel next week, okay? So here's these images here. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And I'll pause reading for now. And I'll leave it up to everyone here if you have any other questions. If you wanted to take a peek at Google Classroom, I'm going to go ahead and post the link and the code one more time for some of those of you who have just recently joined us. And then you can always join the Google Classroom, check out any materials on there, and then always exit. It's completely up to you, but I'll leave everyone. You are free to go if you need to go, but otherwise I'll stick back for a couple of minutes to answer any questions that you might have. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Could you share one more time the Google Classroom?
Yep. I just put it in the chat. Do you want me to share the screen and show you what it looks like as well?
Oh, okay, thank you.
You got it? Okay, great. And then I can also do a share screen. So this is what it looks like once you join, and you can just use any email address to join. And then the main stream will come up, all the links, all the classwork, all the homework, all that will show up here. I can leave feedback, comments, grades, everything like that can go within this portal. Thank you.